Got some comments coming up here from Coach Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer talked a little bit about the spring game and how it's going to be kind of set up where it may be hard to have a somewhat competitive game. I'll let Coach Beamer explain what he's talking about here, but yeah, I think the idea of having a an actual competitive spring game is going to be kind of tough.
Donald Fortune had an amazing interception. That was one of the 8, but we can't turn the ball over like that offensively. So everything is kind of going against the offense at that point. That was essentially the halfway point of the scrimmage, and then we called it up and kind of challenged them to see how they would respond. And I thought we had a really competitive, energized scrimmage the rest of the way last Saturday, and like the way that our guys competed and played, and then some guys really stood out. I thought Zach Pickens had an amazing day. Seemed like he was in the backfield every snap, and really excited about the spring he's having, and as well as a lot of guys that got some opportunities last Saturday as well. This week, very much like a game week. This will be a grind for our guys, and we've told them that. We've challenged them this week from a mental and physical toughness, mentality, all that. Normally we practice, take a day off, and just meet and lift, practice, next day meet and lift. Because of the way the schedule fell and the way we set it up, this is very much like a game week. We practiced yesterday. I literally just came from the practice field into this press conference. Tomorrow is a wellness day here on campus, so our guys will be off, and then we're back with practice on Thursday, practice on Friday, play on Saturday. So it's a great opportunity for us to see how these guys handle that. Can you fight through the bumps and bruises? Can you fight through the practice 12, 13, and 14 of spring practice, and see how we respond? And so far, so good. Thought we had a good day this morning. I know a lot of you guys were out there at the beginning. We got a lot of guys banged up right now, and a lot of guys that weren't able to practice. We got some guys getting nicked up in practice. We got we have a staff meeting here at 4:00 this afternoon, so we'll see where we are from a health standpoint. But the guys that were out there thought it was a good day today. We've really hit this week situations. Yesterday, we focused on coming out situations where the offense is backed up inside their own 5-yard line, and we got to flip the field position and get the ball out of there when we're pinned back deep. Today we worked what we call 4-minute. So the end of the game, the offense, or South Carolina's offense, is winning, and we've got to try and run the clock out. And defensively, we're losing, and we've got to get the ball back for our offense. So I had a couple really good segments of that we can teach off of, and that was good. And like I said, day off tomorrow, and then back at it Thursday, Friday, and then play on Saturday. So excited about that. Excited to get out in Williams-Brice Stadium in front of our fans, or many of our fans, on national television, and go play. Our plan for Saturday is to divide up into 2 teams, evenly matched. It's not offense versus defense. I literally came in here early on a Sunday morning after our first scrimmage and just kind of went through in our staff room and just basically built the teams and tried to make them as evenly as possible. And that's our plan right now. Our coaches would be split up on 2 different teams, Garnet and Black. Plan would be for Coach Satterfield and Coach White to kind of bounce back and forth and call it for both sides, both teams, call the defense and call the offense, and make it as much like a game as we can. That's the plan right now. Obviously, from a health standpoint, we've got to see where we are. You know, there were some positions today when we finished practice that it would be very tough if things stay the way they are right now on Tuesday, for us to be able to have a game if we don't get some guys back at some certain positions. So keeping our fingers crossed that some of these bumps and bruises will heal up and our guys will be healthy enough. We'll have enough of them healthy enough to go out there and compete on Saturday, which we're optimistic we will. But we'll meet today as a staff and see where our guys are on Wednesday and make a final decision. But that's our plan right now, and hopefully we'll be able to get those teams to you probably Thursday morning early would be the plan right now. So we'll see where we are then, but that's the plan going forward.
So there you go. Coach Shane Beamer talking a little bit about the spring game. And, you know, what I take away from that is that injuries can bring you down a little bit. But, you know, I think back on this, and we're going to talk about Clemson and their quarterback situation in a moment. The spring games can be something that can really hinder you along the way here. If you get injured, that's obviously not good. By the way, one other note on South Carolina. Last season, they were scheduled to play Coastal Carolina, but the SEC decided to go all conference schedule. And when that happened, Coastal was basically bumped off the schedule. So the teams have agreed to meet on November 22nd, 2025, according to Kevin Kelly of FBS Schedules. Coastal will make $1.4 million for making the trip to Columbia for the game. So South Carolina's 2025 schedule, looking ahead, they've got Virginia Tech. That game will be in Atlanta on August the 31st. They'll welcome in App State on September the 20th. And then they have Coastal November the 22nd. And then they'll wrap up with the Clemson game on November the 29th. So the final 2 weeks of the season will be in-state matchups for South Carolina. Pretty interesting stuff there. All right, so I wanted to bring that up. And if you want to talk a little bit about the Gamecock spring game, you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about it. But my big thing is that, and I know this sounds like I'm a broken record here, but I think that the Gamecocks will come out almost in a refreshed type mode with the new coaching staff. But the big areas of concern, obviously, Luke Doty is pretty much, after what we heard yesterday, it seems like he's moved into the position of, hey, he's the quarterback. But who's he going to throw the ball to? And that's the big thing. And DeCarrion Joyner, is he going to be able to make his mark with the receiving core? That's a big deal. And, of course, linebackers and the secondary. How will they play on Saturday? There's probably not going to be much shown, but you can get an idea of who can actually get out there and run around and who can't, is basically what I'm taking away from this Saturday. All right, we're taking your calls at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. I've got one other note here on the Clemson football team, where spring game was bad for the Tigers as they lost Tyson Fomachu. He suffered an Achilles tendon injury. As my brain is scrambled today, but I'm working on it, folks. So DJ Uiagalelei is the lone scholarship quarterback on campus when, as of right now, as they get set for that opener with Georgia. So if he goes out, in theory, there's going to be a problem. And one of the reasons that there's going to be a problem is it looks like the two guys that were going to come in that could possibly play quarterback both ended up in ESPN's top 20 for this July's MLB draft. So their names are Will Taylor and the other player, Bubba Chandler. So here's the sense with them. According to ESPN, Taylor is a state championship quarterback, 3-time state championship wrestler, and now a consensus first-round talent as a center fielder. He's committed to Clemson for baseball and football. They're likely to play a slot receiver role. Solid over the summer as a dynamic athlete. He's supposed to play quarterback to start and then move to slot receiver over his Clemson career. Chandler is 20th in the rankings, and it says his stock has skyrocketed as a football and baseball prospect over the last year. Top 50 pick talent as both a switch hitting infielder and pitcher. Though the vast majority of the teams prefer him on the mound, he'll hit 93 to 96 and hit 97 early in starts and flash solid average off-speed pitches with a solid delivery and feel despite limited reps. Having a real backup option if the position you select him for doesn't work out may get him picked 10 to 12 spots higher than a comparable prospect. Now, what does all of this mean? That means that you've got two guys that were supposed to be your backups that are projected as top 20 overall prospects for the Major League Draft. That means that they're going to be offered a lot of money to not go to Clemson. So with that, Clemson's got the young man from West Columbia, Helms, I think is his name, and then you've got Will Spires, the punter. Those are your backups. I bring you this because Dabo Swinney doesn't want to do this, but he's going to have to hit the transfer portal. And I'm not saying go and get somebody that's going to push Uiagalelei, okay? Or Uiagalelei, I'm sorry. Don't get somebody to push him, but you need somebody that can get out there and actually play. Because the idea of your punter possibly taking snaps this season is not a good idea. And also, with this, there's the thought that Uiagalelei is a running quarterback as well. I mean, are they going to cut him loose to run like they did with Trevor Lawrence? I think he's a different kind of runner than Trevor Lawrence. But the reality is that they may try to keep him in the pocket and just try to keep him standing upright. We'll see how that works out for them. SEC Dog with the comment of the day. I think Tate Martell is still available. Oh, goodness. I don't know. But getting someone that's taken some snaps should be what Dabo Swinney's thinking about before he heads to his summer house in July. You got to figure that out because as of right now, you really don't have much. 803-978-1832. I don't understand he hasn't really said why, but I don't get the whole, hey, we're not going to go there yet. We've got guys that can battle for it here. You got to swallow your pride a little bit here and go and get somebody, or it could end up messing up your team big time. Now, it could be that they don't have any issues. And, your first team guy goes all season, but man, you got to have somebody to back him up. One play could realistically mess you up big time. And you've got the COVID-19 stuff. I don't know where we're going to be at with that come September. Are they still going to be testing and everything else? Who knows? Get one positive test and he may be out 2 weeks. That is not a good thing there. Anyway, taking your calls at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. I've got some basketball notes here. We'll get into that. And I've got more Deshaun Watson news. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the days of Deshaun, that continues. We'll talk about that when we come back. And we've got a couple other little things that we'll get into this afternoon right here on the Rundown. Don't forget, when I wrap up today, Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk is next. And, of course, you can follow him on Twitter. He's at Clemson Sports. Some comments. RMF Tide with a good point here. Alabama governor signs NIL bill that will be effective July 1st. That's a big deal. We might talk a little bit about that when we come back. A lot of times back in the day, you saw the pooch punt, but stats tell the coach best odds to go for it in these days. Blake's talking about pooch punting quarterback. So, yeah, Clemson, by the way, that's one area they got to figure out. And South Carolina, how how much of a showcase are they going to have this weekend? I mean, if you heard the comments from Coach Beamer there, interesting to say the least. We'll take a quick break and we come back. We'll take your calls 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. This is The Rundown. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Jimmy, you're right. I don't know. I think they need to go and get a quarterback. It's just getting stupid. I don't know what the deal is though with the injuries that are out there. I thought it was good. For South Carolina, I'm going back and forth today, but Beamer did talk about Zach Pickens really playing well. For him to single him out, that's kind of a big deal for Gamecock fans. It just seemed like he was not quite with it. That's a good point, Jed. Good point, sir. I'll read that when I come back. That's actually very good. Is that what Lane Kiffin said? Are you joking, Blake? Please tell me you're joking. Wow. He's not. I don't get him very much, man. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app. Some comments from the chat room before we move on. Jimmy says it can be difficult asking a young player to not run. Yeah. I agree on that. We're talking about Clemson's starting quarterback. I mean, he has the ability to run, but can they get him can they convince him, or are they going to scheme where he doesn't? So, yeah, there's that. Jed says, sounds like Beamer's looking for parity and competition to see what he actually has. If so, in theory, they'll go harder than most in the spring game. That's a good point, too. Blake says, Lane Kiffin says that the Grove Bowl spring game on Saturday will be, quote, the largest party of all time. Lane Kiffin says a lot of dumb things. I don't know what his problem is, but he just can't. It's like he can't help it. He just wants to say things and just let it explode out there. All right, I got some basketball notes before we move into the folks talking about Brad Brownell should be fired. Okay, well, I've got some Clemson hoops notes right here. We'll get into that. Clemson has added graduate transfer scoring guard to their roster. David Collins from USF is announced he will play his graduate transfer season with Clemson. Let's head out to the phones quickly here. We'll get started. We'll take a phone call here on the rundown. And welcome to the show. Good afternoon.
Rob, Mr. Sanders, how you doing, sir?
What's up, brother? How are you?
Good, man. Hey, you know, I'm not going to bring up the BB situation. I've been telling you that for, you know, quite some time now. What I would like to talk about, Rob, is this situation with our second string quarterback. He is injured, correct?
Yes, Fomichu has a torn Achilles tendon and will not be able to play this season.
Out for the year. Okay,
Pretty
so
much.
that leaves the pantry bare, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much empty. You got the young man Helms, I believe is his name, and then you've got Will Spires as your punter can go out there and supposedly.
No, I can't have my punter take a snap. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that's what Sweeney has said, that Spires could take some snaps at quarterback. I'm just telling you what the coach said.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess Mr. Sweeney knows better, of course, than I do, but I don't think that would be a very good idea. You made a comment about this guy. What was this guy that said he says stuff that puts his foot in his mouth a lot? Who was that?
Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin says the Grove Bowl spring game is going to be the largest party of all time. He just says dumb things all the time. He can't help it.
He's tripping.
Yeah, he can't help it. I don't know
he
what.
He can't help it.
I mean, he's a brilliant offensive mind, but he's definitely got some issues
with this, what comes out of his mouth. Now,
right.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Sanders. Do you think that is an issue with 00 sometimes, that he maybe sticks his foot in his mouth sometimes?
Why are you talking about yourself in third person, sir?
Because I just want to know what your opinion was.
No. We all say things. It doesn't matter. I probably say things that I shouldn't say. I know that Georgia fans are pissed at me because I said that whoever loses the Georgia Clemson game is probably going to the Peach Bowl, and man, they don't like that.
Well,
and by the way, Georgia fans are outstanding. They think that if you go to any, I'm in like 8 different groups that have a bunch of Georgia fans on Facebook, and they all think, write it down, the national title is coming to Georgia. JT Daniels is the Messiah. I mean, seriously, it is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now, let's just take Clemson out of the mix. They're not even the best team in their conference. I mean, let's just be brutally honest about Georgia here, but they're not even the best team in their conference, but they think that they're just going to roll right through it. And it's kind of comical, but everybody can be optimistic here in what are we in, April? What matters is what happens in August and September.
Correct.
So we'll see how that works out.
Yes, you are right. Now, I have pose a question to you, Rob.
Sure.
These Georgia fans talking about they're going to bring home a national championship. Are they getting close or similar to Gamecock fans as being delusional?
No, I don't know if they're delusional or not. Georgia has talent, and they have the capability with some of the players that they have to really do something. But it's and Gamecock fans aren't delusional either. It's just that most Gamecock fans will tell you this season, if they go to a bowl game, that's a heck of a season for Shane Beamer. Whereas, you know, on the other hand, with Georgia fans, it's just the vibe that I get from them is that they invented football, and it's kind of funny. So
they're high and mighty, yes,
yeah.
But this, Rob, I have to disagree with you, sir. Gamecock fans are delusional. Every year they think they're going to be doing something when I don't see how they could win 5 games this year in 2021 season.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts on that, but I think most Gamecock fans would be happy with a bowl season. The ones that I've dealt with anyway. And I think 5 wins is not that far-fetched. I think they could win 6 games. I really do. When you look at their schedule, I mean, their non-conference schedule is pretty easy with the exception of Clemson. And I like them against, I think they beat Tennessee. I think they beat Vanderbilt. So it's not really that far-fetched.
If they do win 6, like you said, it ain't going to upset me none. Okay, let them go to a bowl game with 6 wins. I'm really not concerned about what they're doing. I'm focused on my mighty Tigers getting another natty. That's what I'm focused on, my friend.
All right, sir. Well, let me go, man. I got to go to a break, but I appreciate you calling.
I enjoyed talking with you.
All right, sir. You have a great day. All right, here we go. Back out to the phones. One more call before we go to break. Welcome into the rundown. Good afternoon.
Hey, man, I saw your comments about the Clemson quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a product of Dabo recently not just offering a lot of people?
Well, I mean he offered 2 guys here that were supposed to come in as freshmen. Now, think about it from this perspective. If these 2 guys came on campus, everything would be fine. If Fomitru didn't get injured, he'd have – it's not an issue of roster management. It's an issue of, they thought that especially with Chandler, Bubba Chandler was a guy that they thought was really going to come on campus. But when it come down to it, I mean, and by the way, I'm just telling you where they were ranked as far as prospects go. If you're a top 20 prospect and you decide to go to college, you're turning down an awful lot of money. And that's what they're going to expect these young men to do. So, but I don't think it's an issue of, hey, Clemson didn't offer enough. I just think it's an issue of the injury and then the way that these 2 guys skyrocketed up the rankings and quite possibly both of them leaving. So I think that's what happened here.
Clemson has been getting really stingy with their offers anyway.
Yeah, Clemson offers less than I think any as like one of the schools that offers the least amount out. And I think that's why Dabo doesn't do the whole transfer thing. I mean, he wants to really zero in and get guys that are the right fit for his program.
I mean, if they didn't get DJ that year that they've only recruited him, they would be in a real mess right now because Luke Downey was in their backyard and wanted to go to Clemson. And they said they weren't going to take another quarterback.
Right, and they kind of that's the thing too. They didn't really have an option because if they took Doty, then that's a shot across the bow to DJ is like, hey, we're gonna have this other guy here, and let's be honest, Doty's proving that he's gonna be a starting quarterback in the SEC, so he would definitely push DJ up there, I would think. So yeah, you're right about that. But I mean, luckily for Clemson fans, that came through. But you're absolutely right. If he decided to stay on the West Coast, the Tigers would have theoretically, your starting quarterback would be
Hunter Helms.
Yeah, Helms from West Columbia.
Yeah, I mean, they just seem like the last couple of years they've been getting really stingy about these picks, especially at cornerback. Right. This year they got lucky and got Wiggins at the very end, or they weren't going to have him.
Yeah, but you can't really argue with the results, though, because Clemson, even with the offers that they put out there, they still finish with top 10 classes, and they end up getting guys that seem to work for the program. And, I mean, Sweeney's got, 2 titles in the last 5 years, so it's kind of hard to question. Yeah. But you worry, though, that if something does happen, you're going to end up with a problem sort of like what you have right now. Dabo Sweeney is in the land of he's going to have to do something he doesn't want to do. He's going to have to go into that transfer portal and get a quarterback, whether he wants to or not.
Yeah.
The numbers just say he has to.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it, man. All right, we're taking calls on that at 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Let's see here. John asked if I thought that Ole Miss's attendance would beat the Alabama attendance as far as the spring game goes. I don't know. Lane Kiffin's going to calling it the biggest party ever. I'll have to see about that. RMF Tide says, I think I heard Georgia was going undefeated for the 20th year in a row. He said he's sure he read that somewhere. That's what I'm hearing too. And by the way, I'm not saying you can throw the whole 1980 thing at Georgia, but it's just the idea that they're the absolute best ever. as far as I just look at it from this perspective, you're not the best team in your conference right now. If you ask anyone that doesn't bleed the Athens blood anywhere, they're going to tell you Alabama's the best team in that conference. You have to slay that giant before you can sit here and talk about, hey, we're reinventing football. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Now, I understand being confident with your team and everything else, but the reality is that Georgia's season, in theory, comes down to 3 games this year. The Clemson game at the beginning of the season, which could set the tone. The Florida game, which is in the middle of the season. And, of course, Alabama in the SEC championship game. They should be focused on that. Not trying to tell everyone that, we invented football and JT Daniels is the most awesome quarterback ever. All right, quick break. When we come back, some basketball news. And I've got fresh Deshaun Watson news. Just happened a little bit ago. As the day goes on, more and more of a mess. More of the rundown. We come back. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. Jordan, that's a good point, man. Do you really feel confident with Helms as your quarterback, though? I don't know. And DJ may not get injured. You never know. I'm not saying he's on track to get injured, but he may go through without a scratch. But one play, man, one roll up of an ankle could, derail an entire season. Let's see here. My other adapter here. Uh-oh. Are you serious about this verdict? Uh-oh. I can't tell you, man. That case is either way, man. There's going to be some Georgia needs to worry about getting past week 1 and not declaring themselves national champions in the preseason. Yeah. Preseason and national champions and recruiting national champions don't mean anything. Ta-da! I think that Helms could I think he could come in and be good in a spot, but oof. They got to go somewhere else and get a quarterback, man. Got to have one more guy. Y'all, am I the only one that's nervous about this ruling today or hearing or whatever it is? Ugh, it's going to be a mess. Welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app, some comments from the folks in the chat room. Jordan says, as long as we can run the ball, I think Helms can be good enough to run the offense and we'll be okay in every game except UGA. That's a good point. Army of Todd says, Georgia needs to worry about getting past week 1 and not declaring themselves national champions in the preseason. Exactly. National championships don't matter in the preseason. That's pretty much what it boils down to. If you're determined to be the preseason national champion, not necessarily sure that that's going to work out for you. Also, there's a breaking news story, and we'll keep you updated here because this is of national importance. Jurors have reached a verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial over the death of George Floyd. It's expected to be announced shortly. We will keep you up to date on that. John says, I understand Georgia fans' team spirit, but they need to understand that Kirby might not be the answer. And they need offense to win. You're exactly right. They got to slay the Giants they can slay. And the first Giant is being the best team in the conference. And, I can understand Georgia fans saying, we have an all-world coach we're having to compete with here. Because Nick Saban's completely different than everybody else. So there's that. All right, quickly here, a couple of notes from some basketball stuff. We'll do Deshaun Watson after the break. Clemson has added David Collins of USF. He is a native of Pittsburgh, played 4 seasons, 116 games for the Bulls, averaged over 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists per game. 42% shooter, 46% of his 2-point attempts, 32% from 3-point land, 67% from the foul line, averaged 12.5 points a game last season. He is leaves USF as the 7th leading scorer in school history and the 10th all-time leading scorer in AAC history. In 3 games against ACC teams, he averaged over 14 points a game. So Clemson getting some help from the transfer portal. They also have signed 6'11" Ben Middlebrooks of Fort Lauderdale. Clemson and other had been recruiting him for the 2022 cycle. He narrowed his list. He recently reclassified for the 2021 season. Narrowed his list to Clemson, Ole Miss, Dayton, Georgia, and Oral Roberts before deciding on the Tigers. So there you go with Clemson. Now some news from South Carolina. Gamecock men's basketball guard A.J. Lawson has declared for the NBA draft. He said on social media last night, when I made the decision out of high school to attend South Carolina, I knew it was going to be tough, and that's what I wanted. I've worked and prepared for this moment my entire life, and with that, I'm declaring for the draft and signing with an agent. He is a guy that is the 8th member of last season's roster to announce plans to leave the program. 2 of them, Jermaine Cousineau and Keyshawn Bryant, have also declared for the draft but not retained agents. Frank Martin said last week he expects both to return for next season. Justin Minaya has also declared for the draft but is also in the portal and won't be returning. A.J. Lawson was a guy that at one point was considered a fringe first-round pick. This guy's like part of Team Canada basketball up there, one of the best basketball players north of the border. And to say that, he averaged 16 points a game last year, but when you saw him, it just seemed like he just I don't know what the term is. I don't want to say he was an underachiever, but I think that he was a guy that, I guess underachieving is the word that I could go with there. It just seemed like, he put up numbers, but A.J. Lawson has the talent where he could take over a basketball game. And there were some games that he could, and then some games that it just seemed like you just kind of wanted to push him a little bit. And Frank Martin is the master of getting stuff out of players. And I wonder if that's something that's going to carry over for him. He's 6'7", 170 something pounds. He's very long and very athletic, and he's got the quote NBA body. He's currently not ranked in any of the top 100 as far as prospects go. So he's leaving South Carolina knowing that as of right now, on April 20th, that the draft's coming up July 29th, he's not listed as one of the top 100 prospects. So I'm sure people know who he is, but he's going to have to work his way up with 10-day contracts, it looks like, unless he just completely shows out at the draft combine. I don't know if that's the best move for A.J. Lawson, but he's got to make his own decision. So we'll see. More of the rundown. We come back right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. G League is right. Did I seem like I was ripping him? Because I wasn't trying to rip him, but it just seems like I guess I just expected more of him. And I know that sounds like I'm expecting the world of him. I mean, he averaged 16 points a game. he was what, 5th in the conference in scoring. So under that logic, you could say, you know what, Rob, what's wrong with you? I just thought he was better than what he played on the floor, especially on the defensive end. And if you remember, what was it? Not last season, but the season before, who was the big kid from Georgia that he played against? That ended up, God, I can't remember his name, but he's playing for the Timberwolves. I watched that kid from Georgia just beat him senseless. I know he's a bigger kid, but still, you would think a little bit of something would come out there, a little bit of that dog would come out in you, and you don't want this guy beating you up on your home court. I think, God, I can't remember the kid's name. Somebody help me out with that. The big player from Georgia that ended up drafted playing for Minnesota. I think, is it Edwards? I think it's Edwards. I know Edwards slapped a lot of people around, but it just seemed like I don't know, man. I like people that go after you. Like Sindarius Thornwell is a great example. Anthony Edwards. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. I knew it was Edwards somewhere. I can't remember everything, but you guys are awesome over there. Make you executive producers of the show. But like Sindarius Thornwell was a guy that, man, he didn't like that crap, man. You know, if your best player's out there, unless it's the center, man, he was going to square up with him. And you know what? You may beat me. That's the mentality he had, but he was damn sure going to make sure you were going to feel it. Seriously. And I get the vibe of that with this entire South Carolina team. This team needs, what was it the former Coastal Carolina coach said? Need a little more dog in them. That's exactly what they need. They need somebody that's going to come in there and just slap the hell out of somebody. And I think Frank Martin can get that kind of player, but I also think that's a problem with college basketball right now, is that everybody has, 1 year aspirations. So there's that too. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Some jokes from the chat room. South Carolina will win their spring game on Saturday. Thank you, Justin. We were talking about AJ Lawson before the break about some of the stuff from the chat room on that. He missed a lot of threes this year. Yeah, you can make that argument, but I tell you what, he's going to have to elevate himself a good bit, just to, getting picked in the first round is a big deal, because then your contract's guaranteed. After that, it's not. Remember KJ McDaniels for Clemson? First pick of the second round. That is the most frustrating pick right there, because they don't have to guarantee your contract. So yeah, there's that. By the way, some news on the Deshaun Watson front. Yes, once again.
Like sands through the hourglass.
These are the days of Deshaun. Deshaun Watson, his attorney. 22 complaints have been made against Watson by groups of massage therapists. Report says two of the accusers will meet with the NFL. Yes. Interesting stuff there. They will meet with NFL investigator Lisa Friel via Zoom. And additional women involved in the lawsuits agreed to meet with the Houston PD. Attorney Tony Busby confirmed without further comment. Yep. So we got this stuff yesterday that, according to Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, who is a guy that represented Roger Clemens and several other people, one of the biggest attorneys in Texas, by the way, that he basically called all of these women liars, said some of them even text back to Deshaun saying, hey, they wanted to do more massage services for him. Some of them actually, they've got on record saying that they were out for money, according to what Rusty Hardin said. And then this comes out to today that at least 2 of the women will meet with NFL investigator Lisa Friel, and some have agreed to meet with the Houston Police Department. So what does that tell you? A lot of it may be, okay, you shot across our bow today. We're going to shoot across your bow tomorrow. This is what we're going to do. RMF Todd has wrote something in the chat room that I can't say on the air here, but you should follow along in the chat room. Go find the Fox Sports Radio 1400 Facebook page, and the hilarity that's over there with what he said is outstanding. I'll highlight that chat for the chat room there. There you go. Wow. Some of the stuff you could say over there, I just can't say because I'll get in trouble. I will get in trouble. All right. By the way, we do have a baseball game tonight. Clemson will be playing Georgia. Georgia ranked 22nd in the country, I believe, by collegiate baseball. How bad is Clemson? This is where you say, how bad are they? They're 2 games under 500, 15-17 overall. You guys have got to stop over there. You're killing me. 15-17 overall. And they've lost what? They got swept by Miami, lost to the College of Charleston, and then lost a series to Virginia the week before. This is not shaping up to be a very good baseball season for Clemson. But when you look at the rest of their schedule, they're playing, they'll have this game with Georgia, and I'm thinking that when you really stop and think about it, their schedule kind of opens up, and people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, they're playing a lot of the teams that are kind of beneath them as far as the standings in the ACC, even though they are under 500. Let me give you the rest of their schedule really quick here. They'll play Georgia tonight, and of course that's against a ranked opponent. And let me see here the rest of the way, as I had this pulled up earlier, but I moved my stuff around. After the Georgia matchup, they play Wake Forest, who is kind of okay. That game will be at home, 3-game set there. Then they play Louisville. That'll be tough, a 3-game set there. USC Upstate. Then they go to Georgia Tech, and they've got one more matchup with South Carolina, and then they play Florida State. So yeah, it does get worse. I thought it got easier, but not quite. Duke's also on the schedule to wrap up the season. So there's that. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call if you'd like to join us here on the rundown, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Tom says, what are you going to do if DJ Ungale gets exposed by Smart, though, Rob? I don't know. I mean, that's Clemson's problem. I'm not playing. They got to figure that out. I think that I don't think that Clemson's problems are going to be a quarterback for that game, to be completely honest with you. If you we're going to ask me what the weakness for Clemson in this matchup will be, it's going to be at defensive back. You know, I think that Booth will do a good job on one side, but Daniels is smart enough as a quarterback that he could probably pick apart that Clemson defense in theory. And they've got to get the pass rush to them. You know, Xavier Thomas has to figure out, do you want to be an NFL player or not? You've got 12 opportunities to show them this season. And he needs to get out there and do his thing. Guys like Brzee and Davis and those guys, not really worried about them. They're going to be fine. I don't think that, that's one of the things that when you look at Clemson, those guys are going to be, they'll step up and be great. The edge rushers, they got to figure that out and stopping the run, but the secondary and the linebackers too. How's that going to work out for Clemson? It's kind of the big thing there. I don't think quarterback is one of the things Dabo Swinney is losing sleep over as far as his number one. Keeping him upright That's the big thing. That's the big thing. And Tom's right, the linebackers too. So, yeah, we have that to look forward to. And we'll have plenty of time to break down that matchup. That's going to be fun. South Carolina, by the way, the baseball team, man, it's a big weekend for Gamecock Athletics with the spring game. And you can catch the number one team in the country, Arkansas, coming in here this weekend. You know, we could say a lot about South Carolina, about how they dropped the first game of the series in, 3 straight SEC series. But you know what? They won all those series. And with that, you look at South Carolina as, all right, they're going to get, it's kind of a measuring stick this weekend with Arkansas. Joe Healy from Baseball America joins us this he'll be here Thursday and Friday. We'll have plenty of talk about this this top matchup between South Carolina and, of course, Arkansas. It's a big matchup here in Columbia. All kinds of good sports stuff right here in the capital city. Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk. He is with you shortly. Tom's got a good point here. Wes Clark is a man playing among boys. He's like Paul Bunyan to me, man, with the big blue axe. It's like he just gets up there and he can hit balls country miles, man. I don't know how he's going to, rate when he leaves here, but, man, he's a hell of a college player. He's fun to watch, man, because he can change a game with one swing of the bat. I mean, he is that good. So we'll ask Joe Healy about him, the national writer from Baseball America, as he joins us on Thursday and Friday. Lawton Swan from Clemson Sports Talk is next.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
He's the czar of Clemson Sports. Check him out on Twitter at Clemson Sports. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. We will have more for you tomorrow right here on The Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Tom, you are absolutely right. I would not throw one pitch to him. I'm dead serious. Every pitch I have for him, I would have outside or I would walk him. And if he's having a bad day and he decides to swing at those outside pitches, then that's on him. But he's strong enough that I forget who did that. Was it? I think Georgia did that with him, and they kept the ball pounding consistently outside, and he still got hits. I mean, he is one of the, if you're a college baseball guy and you just like the game, he's one of the best to watch, man. He really is. I mean, and he's so strong too. Look at me with my man crush there on Wes Clark. I don't know. I just love good college baseball, man. I really do. I hope you guys tune in tomorrow. Thursday and Friday, Joe Healy will be here. We'll talk a lot of baseball. I mean, he's coming into Columbia just to cover this game. Uh-oh. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow, okay?